of speaking at Churchill's annual management retreat yesterday and today. And I've got as my special guest and regular guest, Dan Keller. What's up, Dan?
Good morning, Mortgage Coach Tribe.
So, dude, where are you?
I'm at home today. I'm getting ready to fly out to Arizona tomorrow for Core Summit. So I spoke this morning at 6 a.m. to a high school baseball team at their 6 a.m. workouts. And I came back from that and I'm jumping on a call with you, man. So I am in my workout gear right now at home.
Yeah, Coach Keller coming off the high school baseball field. So congratulations on that home of yours, man. What a stunning view, brother. Congratulations to you and Jenny. Hey, Dan, did we lose you, brother? Well, hopefully Dan can hear me or he'll be back in a minute. Marcy, can you confirm hey, Dan, are you back, buddy?
I'm back. I got you.
Okay. So congrats to you and Jenny. So today I wanted to kick off the conversation around the recent interview I did with Donald Miller, the author of Story Brand. I think that is the most important interview I've done in 2019. And there's a lot of great interviews and a lot of amazing people that I've interviewed. So I don't want to, everybody's going to have their own video that they like the best that mortgage coaches put out there. They're going to like their own person. But why I think it's so important is because I think if the referral-based local loan officer is a good marketer and they do a good job of telling their story and kind of wrapping those story brand concepts around how they communicate both sales and marketing, I think they're going to kill it. So that's why I just think it's so important. What are your thoughts, Dan?
Yeah, man, I loved his interview with you where he kind of walked through how to make yourself the hero and your competition the villain. And, the more I got to thinking about how if you didn't hear that interview, you need to go back and watch it because he tells you how to do it. Pick the three things that our customers want and maybe build in a little fear around that and how you solve those problems. So if it's communication, if it's transparency, one of mine is transparency, 2 is communication, and 3 is backing what I say I'm going to do. If I tell you your rate is this and your cash to close is this, it just doesn't change, or I pay for the difference. And so do your clients at the end of that transaction, do they see that? And do they hear it? Do they hear it multiple times? So I went back through and audited my process, man, because of that. And it was pretty sweet to be able to go and do that. So powerful interview, man.
Yeah. So Mortgage Coach Committee, this is really the first interview I'm going to do on this topic. So I just did the interview on Thursday. I've listened to it a few times. I've transcribed it. I'm currently writing an article. I really decided I'm going to write a couple articles on this because I think the concepts are just so powerful. And my goal is that literally every loan officer in the Mortgage Coach community reads this book, listens to this interview, and then more importantly, upgrades their messaging. Create a little playbook of how you're going to talk differently to the consumer. And Josh Metal heard the interview, and literally within 5 minutes, he went out and recorded a new video that he's going to send out. Yeah. And then I gave him some coaching and some editing on it. He asked me to give him feedback, and he's like, "Oh my God, even Josh can upgrade what he's doing after consuming this content." So if you're on this call, down below, there'll be a link to the interview if you haven't listened to it. There'll be a link to the Word doc that I'm editing with Josh. And Josh said, by the way, Dan, pressure's on for you, buddy. He's going to be listening to this. So hopefully between the two of us, it's worth listening to. So Dan, before we get into tactics and details, tell us a little bit about how your business is going right now. How many loans did you close last month? What is November looking like for you? And what are you doing to close the month strong?
Yeah.
Or the year strong?
Yeah. So first off, if you don't know who Josh Metal is, he's like, there's all-stars and then there's Hall of Famer, all-pro type quality people in the sports world. Metal's up there. I mean, he's not done with his career, but he'll definitely be a Hall of Famer. So if Josh Metal's doing something that quick, auditing his process and making a video around it, I think every mortgage coach should be doing it. And I'm doing the exact same. So what I'm doing right now. So last month, October, I transitioned about 5 months ago to a new company. So anyone who's transitioned before, it's not easy. It's been rough. And so last month was kind of, I was starting to feel some of that, the downside of moving companies. So we closed 16 units last month. This month, we're back up to 24 in November, and 22 out of the 24 will be purchases. So we're finishing the year strong, making my phone calls. I think right now, you guys, I think there's two things that lenders need to be focused on, and this is what I'm focused on. One, listing agents, going after listing agents, really doing everything you can to make the process just a wow and to stand out, whether it's the intro call to them, to the communication throughout the process, to closing on time, to then asking them for a meeting. So one of the things I'm doing to finish the year strong is I'm going after listing agents more aggressively than I ever have in my life. Number two, our database. I know you guys have probably beat up your database with the whole refinances. Change your tone. And this is probably a good transition into this call today, Dave. When you're making messages to your database, stop. Rates are down. The Fed just dropped the Fed funds rate. It's a good time to buy. It's a good time to refinance. Reposition your clients as the heroes, man. They're the heroes of this whole entire deal. It's their house. It's their finances. So what I'm doing is my messaging to my database right now is, are you on track for retirement? Are you putting the money that you need to be putting away? Is your mortgage, is your real estate situation where it needs to be? If not, let's talk. I'm doing an event in early December called Wine and Wisdom. I'm bringing out my financial planner, and I'm also going to have his CPA there. And it's a financial 101 Q&A, and it's a VIP event just for my clients. So my tone is repositioning, kind of like what this call is about, repositioning my VIP clients as heroes. And I'm here to kind of support that leading role.
Love that. I love that. So mortgage coach community, I'd love, as you're listening to this, if you have questions for Dan and I, share them down below. I know a few of you guys have been working on your scripting. You've watched that interview, and let's face it, we're in the mortgage business, we're in the real estate business. And so we are in an industry that culturally, we talk about how we're the hero, how many loans I closed. I do the most here, I do the most there. And I'm not saying that's wrong to brag about your success and your team's success. I mean, there is a time and place to do that on social media. So the message is, don't ever announce your success in social media or in your messaging. I don't think that's what Donald's saying, but he is saying, they don't care. They care about how you showed up in that meeting. They care about how you're going to help them save money, build wealth, and have a smooth transaction. So be very thoughtful about how you do that. So Donald offered some scripting, and I'll share that in a few minutes. But if someone's watching this call and you've updated your script and you have it written down, share it with the group. If you are like Josh and you're going to create some 2-minute videos that was inspired by this whole message, share that with the community. And whether you share it during today's call or whether you post it in the next couple of days or next couple of weeks, my goal is to get a lot of examples from the mortgage coach community of people that are story branding their message as a mortgage coach. So Dan, let's just make sure we unpack what we think were the top takeaways from that interview. So what were your top 2, 3, as many as you want to list, bullet point from that interview?
Yeah,
let's break it down.
One of them that stood out to me, and I shared this with my wife last night. My wife has a pretty cool little company. She's more of she has a big following on social media, so she actually has a really attentive audience. And I was talking to her about this, and she's on tour right now because she's just launched her second book, and I thought that this really could add value to to kind of what she's going through right now, and what we're both going through right now in business. And he made a comment about because he does some stuff right now with politicians, right, Dave? And so he went into one of the governors or one of the politicians that are running, and he goes, what do you stand for? Like, what's your tagline? Like, and it was this long run on sentence, and then he said, hey, so what was Jeb Bush's? And I think he was down in Texas, right? So people kind of knew who he was, and nobody really knew. and maybe someone piped up, and then, okay, well, what was Hillary's? And, nobody really responded. And then he goes, well, what was Trump's? And everyone, oh, he was in another country, Dave. That was right. Remember, he gave the example. He was in Helsinki, right? And he goes, well, what was Trump's? And the person in Helsinki in another country said, well, make America great again. And this is not a political conversation, but what I took from that is like, dude, you're right. Everyone, whether you like Trump or not, knows what he stood for and what his line is. And so I went back to Jenny and I was like, my wife, and I said, you're on tour. Like, who are you? Like, what are you trying to do? What are you? Who are you? We got to thinking about it. And I even got to thinking about it in my business and totally rechanged how I look at how I'm presenting my value proposition to my clients, to my realtors, to my team. Does my team think the same way that I think? So from a mission standpoint, is it crystal clear that our job, what is your number one job? If you went to each one of my offices, in my office, to one of my loan partners and production partners, hey, what's your guys' mission? What's your number one job? And every single one of them should be able to say, Dave, it's to provide an exceptional mortgage experience. So, but is that being portrayed in my messages to my clients and to my realtors? And what does that mean? And that was probably the biggest take right there. Super simple.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I could just imagine, because Josh has asked me to help coach him in this next video. And I have a feeling whatever it's going to be, it's going to have the word fun in it. So, it could be as simple as making mortgages fun. It could be as simple, or add a little to it, making mortgages fun and wealth creating. I don't know. Here's what I do know, guys. I know we have the best loan officers in America that are part of the mortgage coach community. So what is that value line? How do you describe yourself? And, what is that one sentence that is simple? Because here's the other thing I had three big takeaways. Obviously, one of them, which we've talked about, and we're going to beat it up and talk about it forever. Don't be the hero. Be the guide. And if you are the guide, you will end up being the hero to the family.
Yep.
You're the guide to make the family the hero, to make the realtor the hero. And if you do that, you'll be the hero. But then the other one was just simple and memorable, and I think the exact words he used was, fourth grade level messaging is always going to beat eighth grade and higher messaging. And I even think here at Mortgage Coach, we have a lot of messages that are like eighth grade level or higher. So they're harder to remember.
Yeah.
And they speak to a smaller audience. So it's like, how do we make our message more fourth grade, memorable, easy to understand? So Mortgage Coach community, please share whatever you upgrade your message to. Share that in this group, whether you share it during this live call or whether you share it over the next 2 weeks. We're going to just nerd out as a community on this interview for literally 2 weeks. Through mid-November, we're going to talk about this. Dan, anything else? By the way, did Jenny come up with anything? Jenny Cookies, by the way, if you guys aren't following Jenny Cookies on Instagram, you are missing out on awesomeness. Anything that she came up with?
She is, she's working on it, man. And what I was raising my hand because I want this call to kind of be interactive too. I don't think, I think some of your best phone calls or your interviews are when you're just having a conversation and you're masterminding. And so what you provoked me to do last night, because you told me about Metal, and if Metal's doing it, I'm going to do it, is I get it. Josh, I follow Josh. And so he does try to, work in that word fun, right? So that's his thing. Mine, I'm a former college professor and a former college baseball coach. So coach, education. So I don't know how it's going to look quite yet, Dave, but I think education, learning is going to be kind
coach.
Yeah, coach.
Yeah, well, and you are a baseball coach now, right? You're like a high school baseball coach.
Yep.
So I don't know, man. Remember, we're just being informal here. That word, guys, let's talk about. Let's just brainstorm words that if you are a referral-based local mortgage professional, you can have the word mortgage in it because that's the transaction of the service we're providing. By the way, probably, maybe someone will come up with something that's so good it doesn't have the word mortgage and we'll like it, but it's probably going to have the word mortgage. If it's Josh Metal, it's going to have the word fun. If it's Dan Keller, it might have the word coach. It might have the word educator. It might have the word teacher. What are some other words, guys? Dan, any other words come to mind that, we might want to think about? Wealth, the word wealth.
I was going to say like wealth, investment, investor. You gotta think of, some people could be like really into animals, dogs, pets. If you follow Donald Miller, like after I heard that call, I kind of went online and stalked the guy. The guy's a pro at helping companies create a mission statement, right? And part of that is who you are. Like, what's your DNA? If your DNA is, when I'm not doing mortgages, what am I doing? Well, I'm volunteering at animal shelters, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that. Like, I coach high school varsity baseball. That's what I do when I'm not doing mortgages and hanging out with my family. That's my passion. And so tie that into your business somehow. Tie that into like Josh Metal. He's a fun dude. I can't wait to hang out with him in January. Seems like just a crazy fun guy. So there's no surprise that word is word that he's gonna work into his mission.
Yeah, I love that. And by the way, Muddy, I just saw you jump in here, and Dan, we lost you, by the way, for a second there. Oh no, maybe I didn't lose you, but you will win if you keep it simple. Donald Miller, again, over and over and over. Guys, feel free to put quotes down below. And Muddy, thank you very much for creating that image to help us remember it.
Yeah.
I posted that in the group a couple days ago, guys. Download that, maybe print it out, put it in your workspace for a week. So Dan, another concept that I loved. It was, I had three takeaways. Be the guide, keep it simple. 4th grade beats 8th grade. And then, the power of total cost over time. When I described, hey, mortgage coach helps the family show the cost over 5 years, and it helps you show a strategy to pay off the mortgage faster and save interest. And Donald just jumped right on it. He's like, Dave, you know what you just did? You made every other fee worksheet loan officer the villain.
Yep.
And that's true, guys. Think about it. Like, a total cost analysis is such a gift to a family of clarity, of transparency, to help them have a memorable mortgage experience. And you're making every fee worksheet loan officer the competitor, the villain. And Dan, I know you know that. You're committed to mortgage coach, but did that change the way you look at the TCA at all, or change the way you might message the TCA in your marketing?
Yeah, because you have to understand when Donald was talking about the 2 or 3 things that our clients really want, our customers really want from us. One of them, and this is, I think Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae released a study a couple of years ago, but they want transparency. And so if you can use a TCA to be more transparent and show them the true cost of that loan, the total cost over time. See, we were talking about this last night, Dave. I won a transaction yesterday, a new client from a listing agent. First referral, I call it a current client referral, but we're in process right now working with a listing agent. She called me yesterday and she said, hey, I got a client I want to refer to you. And he's working with Bank of America. And the fee worksheet that they gave him, dude, it confused me. Like, I couldn't find, truly, after looking at this, it's like, how are you coming up with $20,000 in closing costs? And it was confusing. I put together a TCA for the young man, and within minutes, he was like, thank you. Like, it's all right here on one page. I get it. I can click on this button and see a breakdown of your fees and a breakdown of how you arrived at that. But that's so important. So transparency, I think, is big. And that's why I love mortgage coaches. When I do talk with new clients, I talk to them about the 3 things. Listen, in 12 years of helping hundreds of families purchase their first home, I ask my clients what they want up front, and in the end, what they valued most. The number 1 thing they said was education. Number 2, they said was communication. Number 3, they said was transparency. Guys, hammer home on that. So when I talk about that up front, those 3 things up front, the transparency piece, I pull out Mortgage Coach right away. It's all right here.
So Dan, let's drill down on that a little bit. And for someone who's watching this from Zoom that said there's no links, I want to remind you guys, I'll look at comments in Zoom and speak to them, but we put all the links in our Facebook group just because that's a place where resources last beyond this call. So if you do want any of the links that are referenced or any of the resources, you have to go into the Facebook group, Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind, and they'll be in the comments to this call. So heads up, that's where you'll always find links during the call and after the call. So let's drill down on the TCA, and let's drill down on how to beat a bank, big bank, or a fee worksheet loan officer. So Dan, I don't know whether you want to just share this specific story, and then I do want to, like, anytime we can kind of upgrade our scripting based off story brand, call that out. But why don't you just tell us this big bank story, and then let's even pull up the TCA, because while you're a black belt that's done over 2,000 total cost analysis, there's a lot of people on this call that are either like white belt loan officer, or they're an orange belt or a blue belt in mortgage coach. So if you don't mind, tell the story and let's pull up the TCA.
Yeah. So before I pull up the TCA, let me frame how this referral came over. All right. So it's a listing agent that we're in transaction with right now. And she sends this email, and it's me and this borrower on this email thread. And she basically, local lender that I'd like you to talk to. His name's Dan Keller with Cross Country Mortgage. And when you have a moment, have a conversation with Dan about your current scenario. So the first thing that I do is I have a template that I copy paste and reply back to referrals, and I edify the referring agent. So I said, Ardell, hey, thank you so much for the recommendation, the introduction. And I asked Derek, the client's name was Derek. I said, hey, Derek, really great to meet you. When do you have 2 or 3 minutes to connect for a quick phone call? So I want to get it offline ASAP. I want to have that conversation with him, and I want to learn more about his situation. I want to do things that the people at Bank of America haven't done yet. Okay. So he gets back to me right away, and he says, hey, at noon is great. So when I make the phone call, because of the thread of the email, I've seen that 1, he's talked to a rep at Bank of America. 2, it's a condo purchase. And 3, he's selling a home right now that he's refinanced in the past with Amerisave, which I think is an online lender, and he's got a quote from them. So kind of did my homework, you guys. It's important to go into a sales call doing your homework. So I go into this call at noon with Derek and called promptly right on the spot. Said, I'm super excited. I've been looking forward to this phone call all day. The first thing that I did, so I started off positive, looking forward to this phone call all day. The first thing I did is I triangled for trust. Derek, I'm curious, how do you know Ardell? Well, I've known Ardell for years. She's listing my house. She's selling me this other house, blah, 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 blah. How'd you meet Ardell? So I triangled for trust. I secured that relationship. And the next thing I said is, what did Ardell say about our team and our office? Said you were very competitive. You give a great level of service. And she really encouraged me to work with someone local. And I asked him, so this might not be from Donald Miller. This is maybe from the Challenger sale or from other calls you've had, Dave. But I try to ask why a few times. Why do you think Ardell said that? And he said, well, sometimes you don't get the level of service that you need. And I said, well, what else did she say? And she said, well, internet lenders and big banks might be good for refinances, but with purchases, because there's a contract, she likes to have her clients work with someone local. And I said, boom. Okay, that's why, Derek. That's really the big reason. I said, do you know what's at stake here? And he goes, well, maybe the house, the condo. And I said, more than that, man. You've got earnest money at stake. And I said, how much do you like this house? How much do you like this condo? I really like it. I'm selling the house we're in right now to buy this one. And so I'm kind of building some rapport, building some relationships there, you guys, but strengthening the why behind why he needs to work with someone local. All right. And so I said, here's what I need you to do, Derek.
Hey, time out, Dan. Before keep your train of thought, because I just want to make sure we unpack something. My interview last week was with the author of Value Selling, and he called them impact questions. So I guys want you to write that down. Dan was asking questions, and then he was asking why to create the impact. And did you hear that, guys? He was basically getting the client to build the value around him as a local lender, around him as, specializes in purchases, has a relationship with the realtor. So he wasn't saying it. He was getting the client to say it. So, if you really want to upgrade your value selling, which I know Dan has, you watch videos of the mortgage coach community all the time, but last week's interview was just all about value selling. So anyways, dude, I just wanted to call that out because it's exactly the move that we talked about in last Tuesday's call.
You gotta try to get better at this thing. It's not as easy as I think we've winged it for too long. We talked about that before on your last call. There comes a time where you need to, if you want to go big at this thing called selling and being a great mortgage professional, you got to learn how to do it right. And I'm still learning every single day. That's why I tune into every single one of your calls. And that's why I'm coached at a really high level. But the next thing I did with Derek is I said, Derek, I need you to do me a favor. And he goes, what's that? And I said, I need you to throw away that AmeriSave quote that you have. Because you haven't told me about it yet, but I guarantee it's not relevant and it's going to muddy the waters. And he goes, yeah, I already have. It's really low. He goes, they quoted me 3.5%. I said, that's not reasonable right now on a purchase. And he goes, okay. And so he's thrown that away. And the next thing that he said changed the game. He goes, well, do you want me to send you over the information that I have from B of A? Most loan officers would have said yes. So what I said is, I said, no, that's not necessary. I don't need to see what Bank of America is giving you because I don't play that game. That is kind of a used car salesman. Let me take it to my service manager and see what I can do. So I said, what I'm going to do for you, Derek, is I'm going to put together a mortgage planning worksheet, and it's going to give you some options around purchasing this condo in Kirkland. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to call me after you get this so we can review it. And in the event that I'm way out in left field from what you've seen at Bank of America, we can have a conversation around that. But I'm going to be very confident in saying this, that we're super competitive in the marketplace, and that should not be a problem. But what I want to focus on is making sure that we have you approved for the right program and that we have you prepared to lock under the right terms and timing. And he was like, awesome. I'm looking forward to talking with you. So if you want me to share my screen right now, Dave, you want to give me access to that?
I do. I want to add a couple coaching notes just, because I've really studied this interview, and I am Mr. Mortgage Coach. And one of the triggers of trust is when you can talk about, I'm going to also not only show you the rate, payment, closing costs, but I'm going to show you the cost over 5 years. And hopefully you've asked them the question already that, hey, how long do you think you're going to be in this home? Or, what are your real estate goals are? So you know their goals, and you're going to, whether it's 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 3 years, you're going to say, I'm going to show you over the cost of a specific number of years that's personally relevant to them. And again, you don't even need to throw your competition under the bus. They're just going to be thrown under the bus because, you're really able to say that, hey, most lenders just focus on the transaction. I am focusing on your overall financial well-being, and I'm focusing on the total cost over the time that matters.
Yeah.
And then depending on who this borrower is and what their interest is, you might want to start talking about, and I'm going to help you, I'm going to give you ideas and strategies to reduce your interest cost. Like an eighth or a quarter or a half an interest rate is nothing compared to, hey, if I can show you how to prepay your mortgage, you can save tens of thousands of dollars. So guys, just make sure I would really push everybody, especially after hearing this interview with Donald. And again, I've read the book multiple times too, Story Brand. Start building that into your upfront value prop so that when they look at that fee worksheet, and it doesn't have total cost, it's saying 1,000 words. It was, why don't you pull it up, Dan, and let's walk through it. And I love this scripting. If anybody has questions for Dan Keller, put them down below. I'll go ahead and scan both Facebook and Zoom for any questions that are coming in from the community. I'll tell you when I see your screen, Dan.
All right.
God, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah, you got it.
Yep, we see your desktop with a picture of the mountains, and boom.
Okay.
We see an email.
All right, guys, this is the email. I'm just going to scroll down. I know you've asked for these before. I think it's so you can kind of see how I send an email. What I do is, hey, it was great talking with you today. Thank you for taking the time to help me understand your current financial situation and timeline for buying another home. Based on our conversation, I've designed a personalized mortgage planning workshop. Will serve as a great starting point as you begin to dial in your purchase budget. Here's his link. Underneath it, I put, please note, the report may not be viewable from a mobile device without downloading the free app. And then I always take a snapshot and I just drop it in right here for reference, okay? And so what I've done here is, let me see if you guys can follow me here to the report. All right, so here's the report. Guys, the great thing about this is Bank of America was quoting this cat 3875, and I did not know this, but their closing costs were almost 20 grand. So his cash to close at 3.875 was 139,000, almost 140,000. So I showed him an option over here where he could buy down the interest rate, pay some points, and buy down the interest rate, saving about $94 a month, but only increasing his cash to close by almost $3,000. And so our follow-up conversation was around this, and he was like, that's crazy because I never had this option with the previous person that I was talking to. So this is just something, and we left it at that. He ended up applying for the mortgage last night, and we'll sit down and have a mortgage planning meeting in the next few days. But this is my process for getting this kind of information over to the gym. We did talk about the benefits of points, the cost of paying points over 60 months, and what that does to your net worth there. But we dig a little bit deeper when they come into the mortgage planning meeting.
Okay, so let's just audit this real quick from a story brand perspective, from a black belt in mortgage advice perspective. Scroll to the top real quick, Dan. I just want everybody to connect the dots, especially if you're a white belt. You know, it's got, you know, Dan's contact information, his compliance information, company brand. You could add a picture of yourself, Dan. I would recommend that you add your personal picture, just FYI.
Yep.
It's got the transactional details over there in summary. And then why don't you click on more information under 60 months? Because, well, by the way, you could add a reinvestment strategy there. And again, this is where it's showing the total cost over time. You know, the 60 months, or what was your other period of time? Again, no other loan officer is going to have that transparency, unless of course you're competing with another black belt at Mortgage Coach. And then it's just going to be, you know, the quality of how you were referred, and it's going to be how well you show up in that meeting. You know, what I want to do real quick, Dan, is I want to walk everybody through, you know, what is a black belt versus a white belt. So I'm going to take the screen just for like a second, and then you don't need to stop sharing it because I have the way to do that. Tell me when you see my screen, Dan.
Got it.
So guys, this is the fee worksheet, and this is a white belt. You know, you're providing payment, rate, closing cost, the transactional triangle. Every loan officer in America delivers that. And every loan officer in America says some version of this. I can close your loan faster, easier, and I got great rates. Nothing new. And most loan officers ask this, you know, how long do you plan to have the house? But this really only dictates, are we showing points, no points? Are we showing an arm? And where you really become a black belt in mortgage advice, just so you get it, and you get what the difference between an orange belt and a black belt is when you're showing the options. And when you're showing cost over time. So if you want to go from being a white belt to an orange belt, you've got to have done 20 TCAs, and you've got to be able to have that conversation around cost over time, and 5 years, 3 years, 10 years. If you want to go and be a blue belt, you got to do 50 or more TCAs where you've had this conversation with the family and you're talking about prepay strategies. What if you invested an extra 100, an extra 200? What if you applied it to a mortgage offset account? If you want to be a purple belt, it's 75 families served with a Mortgage Coach total cost analysis. And now it's not only being able to have the advice star conversation, but it's knowing when and how to add a video. It's knowing when and how to add an audio. You know, Dan, it sounds like part of your process is, hey, let's jump on a call. Let me walk you through this, and use Mortgage Coach to walk you through it. It's an omni-channel experience. Like, some people want it printed. Some people want a PDF. You know, making sure you're giving every family the content the way they want the content. And of course, always options. That's purple belt. Dan, any comments on that before I do brown belt and black belt?
I love the breakdown of that.
And then brown belt is really simple, guys. It's just the difference between knowing how to do this and knowing how to lead. And so, first of all, to be a brown belt at Mortgage Coach, you've got to have done 100 total cost analysis, and it's about inspirational leadership. It's like, are you training other loan officers in your office on how to be black belts? Like, you can't become a black belt unless you, one, have all these skills and capabilities, and two, you know how to teach and train other people. And you know how to have that conversation with realtors. You know how to have that conversation with financial planners. You are, you know, you've served 100 families with Mortgage Coach, and you're an inspirational leader. So I would just ask anybody that isn't mentoring someone in your office at becoming a black belt in advice, you will become better by helping other people, you know, master these skills. And then I would say, you know, a black belt's pretty simple. It's 300 families served with a Mortgage Coach total cost analysis, and it's being able to do this with every single financial situation that you get yourself into. You know, that's black belt. You know, and that's when you can say this with integrity. You know, that, hey, my advice helps you build wealth with real estate by making smarter mortgage decisions. And you're not showing a fee worksheet. You're actually showing cost over time and strategies. And you can say, and hey, I coach you over time to ensure you always have the best mortgage to achieve your goals. And, you know, and then you're asking black belt questions like, how old do you want to be when your house is paid off? And they tell you, oh, I want to be, you know, 50, 55. Well, how old are you going to be? And usually that consumer is going to be 5, 10, sometimes 20 years off of where they want to be. So that when you start going through these Mortgage Coach black belt questions,
Yeah,
you've really got something powerful to share. Anything to add to that, Dan, before we get back on your story?
Yeah, it truly is black belt. It's black belt in selling too. When you're asking those questions, you're taking the focus off of you and putting on them. They're the hero. And so it's so good. I think the best of the best, we're all going to lose deals. You're not going to win every single one of them, but you're going to increase your conversion rate. You're going to increase your batting average the more you incorporate all of those tactics into your sales process. And it's like you said it earlier, it's all about the questions that you ask, and you keep the conversation going.
Yeah. So let's do this. Let's tactically get into this script that I'm helping Josh with. And Mortgage Coach community, Josh gave me permission to share this with you guys. So before today's call, I asked him, hey, can I share this during today's call? And he said, no problem. And my goal is to help you guys crush it. And so Josh created this current version, and there is a link down below if you want to follow along or you want to read this. He just listened to the interview, and he made a new interview or a new video for his community of realtors and families that follow him on Facebook. And it was clear that he heard I want to be a guide versus a hero. But then, you know what he did is he went into transaction, and he didn't necessarily use the strategery of, like, what is he doing more than transaction? Like, how is he being a coach? How is he being an advisor? And so I don't know where Josh is going to end up on this, but you guys can see, I call them savage edits here. I edited this, and you'll notice that within my edits, I took phrases where I'm like, you know what? Pulling from Donald Miller, we need to make the content shorter, like more simple. So can we take a 3-minute video and make it a 2-minute video or a 90-second video? Like, what could we cut out of that message? I recommended that Josh considers cutting this out. But I would push everybody in the community, like, create a message and then go, you know what can I cut out of that message? Yeah. Like, what could be taken out of it without losing the essence of it? And then, you know, there's no doubt, number one is I make it easy and fun to pre-approve you. I mean, people are coming to you for a mortgage. You need to speak to that, how am I unique and different at that transaction? Absolutely. But number two, make that, how are you going to help them make a smarter mortgage decision that's going to help them build wealth with real estate? And this is where, if you follow my advice on this, and it's not my advice, it's Donald Miller's advice, it's some of the best strategic minds in marketing, you're changing the game where most loan officers are just going to go transaction, 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 and you're going to go transaction, and then no, I'm going to change the game, and I'm going to show you how you're going to build wealth. Or again, some game-changing value proposition. And again, you can read my notes to Josh, and where I really integrated some of Donald's concepts and thoughts into it. And then in phase three, this is the other thing I think that a lot of people make the mistake is, in the mortgage coach community, most of you guys, either you're supposed to do annual reviews or you say you're going to do reviews. Most of you don't really build that into your upfront conversation.
Yep.
And Tim Brahim is the master of this, where he would, every single family that he would serve, part of his scripting is, hey, when I close a loan, my job just gets started. And he's pretty much closed the second loan within his first loan closing in a way that family is like, hey, even if someone else has higher rates, I want to do business with you because of your advice and because of the service I'm going to get post-transaction. Yeah. Dan, any comments on that, or any tweaks you'd make to this?
No, I mean, I think everyone, after the transaction, that's what's going to separate you. I think people want to feel, what did Donald say yesterday? He mentioned three things that people want. I think one was like comfortable or secure, or confident. And I think if you as a salesperson, so if I were to I'm in the market to purchase a truck here in the next year. If my salesperson was like, listen, I'm going to make sure that you have free oil changes for life right here at our dealership right down the road. And I'm going to make sure I'm going to follow up with you, I don't know, let's say twice a year to see how everything's going with your truck and to see if you need anything to make sure it's performing the level that, you expect it to perform, and really help you take care of managing that truck so you can get the most out of it for the next 10 years. I sure would feel a lot better working with that guy than some guy that's just going to come in and sell me a truck, and I'm going to have to negotiate back and forth with the guy to get the best deal. So it takes the focus off when you let them know that you're going to be there for them. And then my job's just starting when we close the transaction. It goes back to the challenger sell. You're throwing something at them that they never thought about. They're like, really? What do you mean? Well, there's estate planning, there's refinance opportunities, there's financial planning, insurance, all of these things that you haven't even considered yet, where the mortgage is the hub where we can connect you to that. So part of me writing my upgraded mission statement, Dave, is my closing note is that I'm going to do three things, but my third thing is that I'm a connector, because that helps me extend my story after the transaction closes, my value after the transaction closes. So that was one of the things that late last night, I was kind of preparing for this and writing some things down. I was like, I've got to somehow integrate into my value prop that I'm a connector, because I'm not a financial planner. I'm not an insurance guy. I'm not an estate attorney, but I have guys that I highly recommend. And it's a big part of helping me manage your mortgage.
I love that, brother. Hey, Joe, just to pull and paraphrase from Donald in the interview, he actually, we came, in that conversation, we talked about how getting a mortgage is confusing, hard, and stressful. Like, that's like most consumers. And guys, I would recommend that maybe you pull some of your clients and just call them up and say, hey, I'm working on my messaging. When you think of getting a mortgage, you're not talking to me, your friend, or the person that gave you 5-star service, but what do you think you thought of before me? And I guarantee it's confusing, it's stressful, it's hard. Like, those would be words that would come up a lot. And so, Donald in his scripting said, hey, getting a mortgage should not be confusing, should not be hard and stressful. And these are, this is how I make it, if you're Josh Meadows, fun. This is how I remove the confusion. And this is how I'm going to give you clarity. And then, transaction, I show cost over time, I coach you, whatever your three. And here's the other thing, guys, I'd caution you from 5 or 10. Like if you listen to the Donald Miller interview, I think he makes a really good case that simple is better, make a big statement. And then 3 how-tos is like a formula that makes a lot of sense. So Dan, let's transition a little bit. And if anybody has questions, if you have comments, let's jump on that. But I did an interview a couple of weeks ago with Ryan Hill on, being the captain of the wealth team. Because here's the other thing I think super cool is that if you are a black belt in mortgage advice, you are really well positioned to be the captain of the wealth team. And, what are your thoughts on that? And are you thinking and planning for 2020 on how you're going to grow as captain of the wealth team?
Well, I think it's genius. Whoever came up with that is pretty smart. But that's it. That might be, if that's Ryan, that's Ryan's thing. Maybe he educates people on.
Well, no, time out. That wasn't his. Yeah. So he actually interviewed me. So I actually don't know whether I came up with this term, whether Todd Duncan did, whether someone at Sales Mastery did, because there'll be a podcast released next week from Todd Duncan, and we talked about this wealth team concept. Yeah. But I guess my point to you is, first of all, do you feel like you're the captain of the wealth team right now? Do you have, obviously, realtors? Do you have CPAs? Do you have financial planners? Do you have, let's just say 2 or 3 of these potential members of the wealth team for the family? Do you have good relationships with, and do you get referrals from today?
Yeah, I do, but I want to be transparent too. It's just, no, I don't feel like I'm captain of that team, because here's the thing. It's not my value proposition. Now, should I? Yeah, I should work on this, but there's guys and gals that you've interviewed that are dialed in with CPAs, dialed in with financial planners, dialed in with estate attorneys. They are true captains. So I'd be providing a disservice if I told y'all I was the captain of the wealth team. Now, is this something that I'd aspire to be? I think it's incredible. Absolutely. But I will say this, if you're going to say that, just like what Donald Miller was saying though, and if you study him, if you're going to say and you're going to market that you're captain of the wealth team, you better be captain of the freaking wealth team. You can't be just, I'm not just going to say this because your people aren't going to see it. Your people aren't going to see it in the content that you produce. If you're captain of the wealth team, you're sharing information from your financial planner. You're sharing CPA information. You're sharing estate planning info. You're interviewing these people. They're a part of your mortgage planning packet that you hand out to everyone, and their contact info is in it. So I agree. I think it's it's something for me to shoot for. Am I the captain right now? No. Am I dabbling in it? Am I on the team? Yeah, I'm a part of the team, but I'm not captain yet.
So guys, I just posted a link to it in YouTube, and there's a link in Facebook, the interview. It's like a 12-minute conversation that Ryan and I had in a coffee shop. And by the way, Dan, I think you'll appreciate the production value. Yeah. These guys, had multiple cameras, and they were, filming this conversation at a coffee shop. It was inspired by Seinfeld's comics in coffee shops. Yeah. I don't know if you've watched that Netflix documentary, but that's what they were shooting for. But so here's a couple of thoughts, guys. So first of all, I don't think you tell people that you're captain of the wealth team. I think it's a strategy. Yep. And Dan, I would, as your brother, I would tell you, you are so close to being a captain of the wealth team. You just need to, 1, get some intention and clarity around it. And then 2, you need to just organize the current CPAs and financial planners that you have. And then if you did want to really make this a 2020 focus, which I can't say you should, because I don't know your priorities and your goals enough for 2020, but it would just be as simple as you starting to be more intentional that when you're working with ideal clients, you're like, hey, who's your CPA? Who's your financial planner? And you're just being a little more intentional with building those relationships. But, as a black belt in mortgage advice, being captain of the wealth team is, you've got all the skills and capabilities. You just need to put some intention around it if you did want to do that.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, guys. So we got about 10 minutes left. Dan, any other stories that are kind of on point with the conversation that you've had recently, or any other strategies you want to cover in these last 10 minutes?
Yeah, to add the most amount of value to the mortgage coach community, I think my message should be that each one of us needs to really focus on this art of selling and get better at it. There's some guys that are just really naturally great at it, like Jeremy Forcier, incredible. It just seems to come really easy to him. It doesn't come that easy to me. I have to work at it. I've always had to work at stuff like this. So you want to get better at increasing your conversion rate. You want to get better at beating online lenders and the big banks that are going to be dropping their rates to buy up market share. You got to get really good at not just presenting your value proposition, but selling through that. And guys like, where's my book? Donald Miller. Go out and buy this book. It's not a coincidence. I believe I had someone gift me this book 2 weeks ago, and then the next day you posted something about it. And I'm like, geez, man, if Savage is reading it and interviewing this guy and I just got this in the mail from someone as a gift, that's a sign. So that combined with, you've had Rene Rodriguez on. I've gone to 2 of his Amplify events, and it's changed. I'm getting comments now, calls from realtors, calls from lenders, saying, wow, we can really see a difference in your videos. We can really see a difference in your messaging. What are you doing? Is that all Rene? And I'm like, yeah, you got to invest. I mean, they're big investments. But there's a strategy around creating a good video, man. There's a strategy around selling. Learn from the best, learn it, and then implement it. And that's my biggest message. I think this building a story brand, Donald Miller, and when you listen to any of Rene Rodriguez's interviews, it's how to speak from the heart, how to tell your story. And so if this isn't waking you guys at telling our story and being more transparent and authentic, I don't know what is, man. But you're onto something with these guys, and I appreciate the value that you bring, Dave.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, brother. So just a reminder, folks, I'm working with Rene. We've already confirmed 1 Amplify event with Dan and 10 of the top rock stars of the mortgage coach community in January, and we're going to be doing more. So if you would like to be invited to one of those, email me, Dave. Seattle sold out. Email me at dave@mortgagecoach, and I will connect you with Rene, and we'll figure out a date that we can fit you in. They really are invite-only type events. They are a significant investment. They're, I don't want to get into all the details of that. I'll let Rene do it because it's his event. But if you would like to be invited to an Amplify event, a leadership event where it's a 2-day workshop to build your skills as an influencer. So really, yes, it's presenting on stage. Yes, it's creating video. But I think, Dan, you would testify it also helps improve your sales conversations. Anyways, email me, dave@mortgagecoach. So, by the way, Dan, did you get a chance to go through those slides or look at that that video I did on sales math?
Yeah.
Rene's latest interview.
Unreal. It's spot on too. It's spot on.
What is your sales math, if you don't mind sharing?
It's pretty congruent with that. I mean, guys, at the end of the day, if you didn't see the video, Rene, what he do? He surveyed 10,000 calls. Something like.
Yeah, he studied. Yeah, 10,000 calls, like 4,600 or 700 to realtors, 5,000 and something to borrowers, and then, broke down the results.
Yeah.
How many conversations were answered, how many meetings were created.
Well, think about that. So out of the 4,000 to realtors, from lenders making a call to a realtor, right? He said, or 2 out of 10 did business with him. Is that, or with his loan reps, right? 2 out of 10?
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
Okay. So, right. That's all you guys need to know. Every 10 realtors you cold call, you're going to get some appointments. You're probably going to get 2 of them if you're good. And these are good loan reps that he surveyed. That's all we need to know. 2 out of 10, we're going to get business from. And if you scale that number, it's crazy. And so I did a talk on last Friday to realtors, and it provoked. I do a Friday coaching in my office. And one of the reasons why I did that session was I had lunch with 2 realtors last week, and they were good names, like in the area, these are names that we've heard of, and both of them are having bad years. And I left the meeting depressed, man. I was like, gosh darn it, man. They were down in the dumps, and I was going to go back to my office and get some information to send them to really fire them up. They were down. And so this call, the coaching class that I did on Friday, I said, I proposed a question. I said, why don't we prospect? So Dave Savage just shared, and Renee Rodriguez, that if you call 10 realtors, 4 are probably going to meet with you, 2 to 3 are going to meet with you, and you're going to get business from 1 to 2. So why don't we? And it's basically, and Renee talks about this in Amplify, it's our fear of not being liked. It's not our fear of failure. It's our fear of not being liked. And then Renee takes it a step further, where you kind of peel back the layers of your why. And I gave my talk on Friday. The reason why realtors don't prospect, the reason why lenders don't prospect, is because your why isn't big enough. Your why isn't big enough. You'd rather not. You'd rather sit around your office on Facebook than dial 10 realtors, because you don't need the deals that bad. Your why is not big enough. So I took so much out of that video and that slide deck. It motivated me. It fired me up. And it's just, I share that with 2 of my loan reps. It's, the numbers are there, guys. So,
yeah. So guys, I posted that in the Facebook group this morning. I also just put it in comments. It's called Sales Math with Renee Rodriguez. That's another topic I would love for the mortgage coach community to share. What is your sales math? He gets it down to, how much money do you make for every call you make? How much money do you make for every conversation?
Yeah.
And it also ties into Bill's heart. Bill Hart's, I don't want to information overload you guys. But one of the things I was asked to talk about here at this sales rally, and I'm going to show my slides one last time in the last 3 minutes of the call here. If you could confirm you can see my slides, Dan.
You got it. Yep.
So this is Bill Hart's. He does a keynote. I watched him do this keynote, and when he did it, it was 6 things that top producers have in common. They get clear, they time block, they generate leads, they crave efficiencies, they radiate confidence, and they track their results. Then if you heard the interview I did with Bill, I added, and they go all in, because, one, I think we all get that, and they do go all in. Also, Bill Hart has a badass podcast called All In. Check it out. But for the presentation I gave yesterday, I was like, well, I got to add my little piece to this, and they do these things, they do them consistently. And then it's all about leadership. It's like, you grow your leadership, you grow your success. So, at the end of the day, leadership matters most. And this was the punchline to my presentation yesterday. I went through all these details, and then this was the punchline. So anyways, guys, I hope today's been a valuable call. We got to wrap it up now. Dan, any last thoughts before we wrap it up?
Get the book. Buy this book, you guys. Read it. Buy this book, read it, and look up Renee's Amplify events in a city near you, and go. It'll change your business. It'll change your business.
All right, guys. Take care. Hope you got value from today's call. Give us a like. Give us a love if you loved it. Share it with your mortgage friends. And remember, guys, we want to see the scripting that you're coming up with, the messaging. Let's all story brand what we're saying in both our sales message and our marketing message together. So looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with. Take care, Dan. This call's a wrap.